Welcome back to Don's Life. Welcome to the channel. Thanks for watching today. Today's episode will be a little different. I wanted to talk about a part that's been recommended to me quite often in the comments from subscribers, through emails, and that's for my 2021 GMC Sierra AT4 with the 6.2 liter V8. They've been recommending I get the Pulsar LT module for the truck. I haven't done it yet, and I wanted to kind of explain why. Let's go. Alright, before I get into the reasons why I might want to still buy one, or maybe why I've been hesitating, let me tell you exactly what this thing does, and most of you already know this. It allows you to adjust your speed limiter. It allows you to adjust the tire pressure monitor sensors. It allows you to compensate or adjust, calibrate essentially for a new tire size. So if you have a larger diameter tire, you can account for that. If you swapped out your gears and you needed to reprogram what that gear ratio is, this will allow you to do that. If you want to disable the auto start stop function, it can do that. I know there's the auto stop eliminator, auto start stop eliminator, which I have in my vehicle. I think it works a little differently, I'm not certain, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. It has the DFM disable, so the dynamic fuel management, you can turn that off. That's a big hot topic. I'll get into a little bit more of that later. So throttle position sensitivity can also be adjusted. That does not mean more power. It just means the relation to where the pedal position is and what the throttle is going to do as a result. That's adjustable. And it has convenient on-the-fly adjustments right on the steering wheel, so you don't have to get out of the truck. So let me talk about why I think I still want one, but we'll get into some of those things I mentioned earlier. So DFM, dynamic fuel management, that's where the truck will automatically figure out which cylinders it does not need to use and shut them down. Now, we all know about the lifter issues or the failures that these engines supposedly have, and it happens, so I'm not denying that. It's an issue out there, but I don't think DFM is the main reason for the issue. There's another theory that has my attention, and that's where the lifter itself, the valve lifter, then you have the push rod. The push rod is actually rubbing against the side of that lifter just ever so slightly. And during that back and forth motion of that rod, it's actually creating a resonance frequency which inherently can deform or misshape and bend that rod. Now that that rod is bent, its length of travel, even if it's just, you know, a fraction of a millimeter, it's no longer the same shape. So then it starts slapping on the rocker on the top, and eventually that's going to lead to the failure. So that's a theory that I've kind of aligned with just based on some of my research. I don't know really if that's the reason, but a different rod that was a higher durability, that had a different resonance frequency and wasn't susceptible to that, would probably fix things based on, you know, this logic. So I don't know if this is going to make me feel safer from having that failure is all I'm trying to say. Now we have a 2016 Cadillac Escalade with active fuel management, and we have not had one problem at all, and we've been driving it for the better part of 6 years. That's why I'm inclined to think that it's not the contributing factor, at least 100%, to the problem I was just talking about. A good reason why I still might pick one up still has to do with DFM. Yeah, that's right. I got this Borla aftermarket exhaust. This is the S-type with the quad tips. I absolutely love this exhaust. There's a video about that install, link up above. It's the right amount of you know, presence without being too obnoxious, without people wondering if you even have an exhaust. I think you'll really like it. But with the DFM enabled, what ends up happening is when you're decelerating, sounds like your truck has some bad indigestion. You get some burbles and burps at the end and kind of a bleh when you come to a stop. Right now I don't mind it, it's kind of fun, but I could see it getting old pretty quick, and especially as it starts to get colder up here in Canada. When it's colder, your exhaust is a little louder because things have more trouble warming up. So that's another reason. If you want to upgrade your wheels, which I'm planning to run a second set, so I think there's an advantage with the Pulsar LT. If you're going to run 2 sets of wheels and go back and forth from maybe stock like this is, and then to another wheel with a bigger diameter, the fact that I can just change it back and forth at home easily through the steering wheel controls is a plus. So I would definitely want it for that. Earlier I was talking about the auto start stop disable. So I have the auto start stop eliminator, which allows you to change the default setting to have the switch either on or off when you turn on the vehicle. And you can change it at any time back to original, and you only ever interface with that button. Now I could be wrong, and you could correct me, and I'm admitting I could be wrong on this one, but I think with the Pulsar LT, it just disables the feature entirely, and then you can go into the menu through your steering wheel controls and turn it back on. But I'm not sure if it will act like the auto start stop eliminator and allow you to just choose its default position for each time you start the vehicle. That's why to me that feature really doesn't matter, because I've already installed this and it's an inline module with this switch. So I don't think it would have any relevance to the Pulsar LT being installed or not. The throttle sensitivity adjustment that you can make, let's again not confuse that with making more power. That's not what it does. As you depress the accelerator, it's just going to change the relationship between the pedal position and how the throttle is going to respond. So basically that little bit of a lull you may have noticed when you're at a complete stop, and if you floor it, that little bit of hesitation, that delay, that's adjustable. So you can adjust your throttle to be more responsive or less responsive. For me, because I have an aftermarket cold air intake, the one by S&B, and it's mated to the aftermarket exhaust, I've already enhanced my throttle sensitivity. I'm fine. I don't think I'm going to be doing road races anytime soon from lights. That's just not my style. So to me, not a major feature, but it has it. So the gear ratio adjustment. I have a 3-2-3 gear ratio in this truck for light duty, what I'm doing, the part-time towing that I do. I think it'll be fine. I don't have the max tow package that's available on some Sierras, which gives you the 3-4-2 gears, but if I destroyed these gears just from some kind of wear and tear and I decided I wanted to change the gear ratio, then the Pulsar LT would allow me to make those adjustments. I don't think I will buy wheels in my second set that I'm running that are going to run a different tire pressure range for inflation. So to me, I don't know if I would need that, but either way, it has that feature. So you might be asking yourself, why haven't I picked one up? I just gave you a number of reasons why I could probably get an advantage out of using one. Well, let me tell you, one of my hesitations, just doing the research, is just the amount of testimonials or stories from people that have owned them. Now, I have no proof that anything that they've claimed is related to the Pulsar LT. I don't know if it's true. I don't know how to substantiate it, but there's some interesting stories out there. Now, I have the technology package. Does the Pulsar LT create some electrical issues with certain trim levels and packages and features that a vehicle may or may not have, or maybe some of the personal adjustments that you make when you configure your truck through some of the settings and you pick certain things or disable certain things? Does that setting impact some of the coding that it throws a mistake and then you have like this weird, response or electrical gremlin? I don't know. But let me just tell you some of the stories that I've heard, and you've probably heard some of the same ones. Whether these are software glitches, programming errors, just firmware that needs to be updated, maybe changes to the software in the vehicle that now have made the firmware on the Pulsar LT outdated. So here's some of the stories I've heard. I've heard of people going in for emissions testing and the monitoring equipment doesn't work properly. I've heard of people having issues with their in park and all of a sudden the RPMs jump up to around 3,000 and the only way to get it to stop is to shut the vehicle off and start it over and then it's gone. This one kind of makes sense, and I think it's probably something that does happen, is the shifts are harder from a starting point to your first or second gear, or if you're decelerating and it's dropping gears because there's V8 full time, you have more engine load happening, which is going to interact with the transmission with that higher load. I've heard of powered steps, coming in and out randomly. I've heard of the indicator light on the mirrors that lets you know about your blind spot detection, that those randomly flashing when there's nothing in sight. Again, these are just some of the stories that I've heard in my research. I have no idea if they're related to the Pulsar LT, but I just wanted to share with you some of the stuff I've learned because I'm doing this research. So the verdict, I'm not convinced that I need one. I think I still want one. Right now I'm kind of content, and I think I can live with the extra burbles that I get from my exhaust. But maybe they just need some more firmware updates. Maybe I just need to do a little more research. But either way, that's my verdict. If you like today's video, hit that like button. Please consider subscribing, and we'll talk to you next time.